Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I read in July. So let's get started because we already know that I'm always behind on my recent reads videos. That's just the natural state of this channel. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Winter Counts by David Heska Wambley-Waden. In this one we follow this Indigenous vigilante who lives at a reservation and is hired by the people there to basically enact revenge or punishment or justice for people who are allowed to get away with crimes because the justice system is not really serving justice. So because of this, the protagonist is kind of hired to track down who is bringing heroin into the reservation. And he discovers that his nephew has some kind of tie to this situation. And so he becomes emotionally invested in figuring out who is responsible for bringing heroin into the reservation and what consequences that might have for his nephew. So I rated this 4 stars. I thought it was a solid mystery. I'm not usually into like super straightforward narratives and writing styles, but I feel like the protagonist of this book was so no nonsense that it made perfect sense for the writing style to be that way. And so at the same time, that made this a very compulsively readable book. It took me a minute to finish this, but it wasn't at all because of the book itself. It was because I was kind of in a slumpish mood and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to read. But truly, this is like compulsively readable. It has a very readable style, period, that makes you want to keep reading. So that was something that surprised me, but that I enjoyed about this. And then I really liked the characters in this book. I thought the character work was solid. You didn't know everything about the characters, but you knew enough for them to feel like actual people and for you to feel invested about what was going on in their lives. So overall, I would highly recommend this. I wish I had more to say, but like words are escaping me, and I also don't want to reveal too much since obviously there's a mystery element in here. But if you have been on the fence about picking this up, definitely check it out. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Disenchantments by Nina LaCour. In this book we follow a teenager whose best friend is in a band, and so he goes along with them on like this mini road trip slash like concert tour as a farewell to the band, since 2 of the members are graduating from high school and are no longer going to be able to keep doing gigs. But the catch here is that the protagonist and his best friend were supposed to have a gap year where they traveled the world basically. But his best friend suddenly decides that she wants to go to art school, and so he's trying to figure out why she made that decision and why she kept it from him for so long. So I rated this book 3 stars. I honestly think it was a solid book, but at the same time, I found it so frustrating. For one, the protagonist Colby and his best friend Bev were insufferable. Like, these 2 were supposed to be best friends, but literally all they did was fight with each other, get on each other's nerves, and try to like irritate one another. Like, there was this whole thing where clearly Colby has a crush on Bev, but neither of them is talking about it. And so she gets jealous whenever any girl talks to him. But then she's also deliberately trying to make him jealous by flirting with both girls and guys. I'm like, fix yourself. Like, I know they're teenagers, I know it's messy, and like it feels realistically messy, but it was just not for me. It was irritating as hell. And then there was the whole cringe stuff where the protagonist felt realistic, his thought processes felt realistic, but I was not into reading about a teenage boy thirsting after his best friend and having very sexual daydreams about his best friend. Like, that just made me super uncomfortable, made my skin crawl. And like, again, it felt realistic, but did I want to read that? No. No, I did not. So it was kind of a struggle. But one of the things I did enjoy was the family dynamics. Both Bev and Colby had tension going on in their families, and so slowly learning and unraveling what was going on in their home lives was interesting and did make me want to keep reading. So yeah, I would kind of still recommend this, but kind of not. Do with that what you will. The next book I'm going to be talking about is a collection of poems by Lord Byron. Like, is there a way to describe this? Not particularly. It's just a collection of, a historic fuckboy and his poems. Like, that's it. That is what this is, and that is who Lord Byron was. He was a fuckboy, and there's a bunch of like love poems and other kinds of poems here. So I rated this 4 stars. I am trash for poets and writers from the Romantic era, the Romantic period of literature. That is my jam. So I finally picked this up because I'm pretty sure I bought it last year. And I had a good time with it. Of course, there were poems that were questionable, to say the least. But overall, I just really vibe with the writing style of authors of this period. So it was no surprise that I was into this collection. And overall, this kind of served to remind me that I really do love poetry. I just kind of forget to pick it up because I'm messy like that. But this inspired me to start picking up more poetry collections just to enjoy that genre more. So I'm gonna finish off this review by randomly picking one of the poems I liked and reading it to y'all. When we two parted. When we two parted in silence and tears, half broken hearted, to sever for years, pale grew thy cheek and colder thy kiss. Truly that hour foretold sorrow to this. The dew of the morning sunk chill on my brow. It felt like the warning of what I feel now. Thy vows are all broken, and light is thy fame. I hear thy name spoken, and share in its shame. They name thee before me, a knell to mine ear. A shudder comes over me. Why wert thou so dear? They know not I knew thee, who knew thee too well. Long, long shall I rue thee, too deeply to tell. In secret we met, in silence I grieve, that thy heart could forget, thy spirit deceive. If I should meet thee after long years, how should I greet thee? With silence and tears. It's just a vibe, okay, y'all? It's just a vibe. The last book I'm going to be talking about is Build Yourself a Boat. This is a poetry collection that is described as redefining the language of collective and individual trauma through lyric and memory. So I rated this 4 stars. I am scrambling with how to talk about how I felt about it because this was one of those books that I very chaotically did not write a review for, and so now I am lost and confused as I try to talk about it. So basically, I really enjoyed some of the things that the poet was doing in this collection. One of them was that there was this whole series called the Zimmerman Testimonies. I liked them because they heightened how absurd some of the things that happened during that trial. So I was into that. And then there was this whole thing where throughout the poems were interspersed quotes from this letter that the mother of the author wrote. And so I wasn't sure what the author was trying to go at with that, but it was an interesting choice and something that I considered compelling. And so at the end of the collection, you get to read the whole letter, and it kind of brings certain themes and aspects of the collection into focus. And some of the other things that I liked that the collection was thematically exploring was this idea of being forced to grow up really quickly, not really being able to sit in the innocence of childhood. It also tackles like expectations of Black people and Black women, how they should and shouldn't behave. and kind of challenging those notions. So overall, would highly recommend it, but I would warn that there are trigger warnings for self-harm, abortion, and sexual assault. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.